My name is Lux and I am 61 years old. I spent most of my life providing for my family, believing that love, sacrifice, and loyalty would always be enough. I was wrong. The day my son Armin got married should have been the happiest day of my life. I had poured my heart and soul into raising him. I had worked late nights, skipped vacations, and even ignored my own health just so he could have every opportunity in life. I believed that the love between a parent and child was unshakable. But that belief was shattered the moment Zara, my new daughter-in-law, smiled politely and said, "Lux, I think it's time you find somewhere else to stay. This house is for Armin and me." Her words hit me like a physical blow. My son, the boy I had nurtured, the one I had fought for at every stage of his life, didn't utter a single word. He simply lowered his gaze. What do you mean?" I stammered. "This is your home too, our home." Zara's smile was cold, almost predatory. "Lux, we want a fresh start. We don't need complications." In that instant, my heart crumbled. The home I had raised him in, decorated with my own hands, filled with memories of family dinners, birthday celebrations, and laughter, it all meant nothing to them. For weeks, I moved from one relative's home to another, carrying only what I could fit in a small bag. The weight of betrayal felt heavier than any physical burden I had ever carried. I walked the streets at night, wondering where I had gone wrong, replaying every memory with Armin in search of a hint, a warning, something I could have done differently. Then, just as despair had wrapped itself around me like a suffocating shroud, life decided to intervene in the most extraordinary way. "Lux," a cheerful voice said over the phone one morning, "this is a representative from Fortune Lottery. Congratulations, you've won $10 million. I laughed until tears ran down my cheeks. I thought it was a prank, and yet when the documents arrived, the reality hit me. $10 million, at 61, alone, betrayed, and now unbelievably wealthy. The irony was not lost on me. The woman who had thrown me out without a second thought had dismissed me as worthless, yet life, in all its strange humor, had just handed me everything. I could have taken revenge, but something inside me whispered a different path. I would not stoop to the pettiness that had surrounded me. Instead, I would rise higher than I ever could have imagined. I bought a quiet home by a lake, surrounded by trees and the soft murmur of water. I traveled to countries I had only dreamed of, Italy, Japan, and Morocco, immersing myself in art, culture, and history. I rekindled old friendships and built new ones, people who valued me for who I was, not what I could provide. More importantly, I discovered passions I had neglected: painting, writing, and even gardening. Each day felt vibrant, filled with possibility and meaning. Meanwhile, news of Armin and Zara reached me in fragments. They had mismanaged their finances, borrowed recklessly, and alienated friends and family. Zara, who had dismissed me as a burden, now found herself facing consequences she never imagined, alone, desperate, and humiliated. One rainy afternoon, there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find Zara standing there, soaked, her eyes wide with fear and shame. Armin was behind her, silent, ashamed, and broken. "Lux, please," Zara whispered. I was wrong. I didn't realize." I looked at her, then at my son. I could have unleashed decades of anger and hurt, could have made them feel the shame I had carried, but I didn't. Instead, I smiled softly, a smile filled with peace and triumph. "You had your chance," I said calmly. "Life has a way of teaching lessons. I hope you've learned yours." And I closed the door, not in malice, but in dignity. With my wealth, I started a foundation to help elderly people who had been abandoned or neglected, ensuring they had shelter, food, and dignity. I met people who reminded me of the beauty in life, who inspired me to live fully even in my later years. I often reflect on the day I was kicked out. At first, it felt like the end, but in truth, it was the beginning of a new life, a life I could design on my own terms, full of purpose, joy, and independence. The twist of fate had given me more than money, it had given me freedom. I was finally living for myself, unburdened by others, cruelty, or judgment, and that, I realized, was priceless. Moral: life may betray you, and those closest to you may turn their backs, but sometimes betrayal is the universe's way of giving you a second chance. True wealth is not measured by money, but by dignity, freedom, and the courage to rise above pain.